Another alpha that we've got to talk about just here a little bit is Jimmy Butler. Earlier this week, there was speculation that the Grizzlies were the odds-on favorite to land Miami Heat star Jimmy Butler. We can now put those rumors to bed because the Heat star's camp told NBA insider Chris Haynes that he has no interest in playing for the Grizzlies and that the two teams should not facilitate any kind of trade. So I'm gonna start on this one. Jimmy Butler, I think this is kind of indicative of where we are in the NBA right now, in the way that it is a stars league, it is a players league, in the sense that they kind of get to dictate what it is they want to do. Jimmy Butler is 1 and 1A in Miami. I think he enjoys that. He's clearly unhappy, which is fine. And if you want to go, you want to go. To now dictate where you go when you're dealing with a GM like Pat Riley, I think is almost incredulous. It's almost hilarious to say. And I think for the Grizzlies, I never really liked the fit anyway, bringing Jimmy in here because I watched the show on Monday. I love watching you guys. Y'all talk about any trade that you think you can get Jimmy Butler in that might have to include Desmond Bane, I don't like. And I'm on that same note because I think what the Grizzlies need in order for them to get where they want to go is consistency, yeah? And so you're talking about Ja, Jaren, Dez, Jimmy Butler, all on the same team. Is Jimmy Butler going to be okay with being the fourth option, filling in the Marcus Smart scenario? I thought it was just kind of ridiculous, honestly, that Jimmy's like, I have no interest in playing for the Memphis Grizzlies. So where are you planning to go where you're going to be on a winning contending team? I thought it was really interesting to hear him say he doesn't want to play for the Memphis Grizzlies. Where are you going to play where you're going to have a similar or same role on a team that is already in a position to win a championship?
Yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If I'm the Grizzlies, I'm saying, all right, you didn't want us. We're going to use this as fuel for motivation to keep on trucking along in this season. Like, if you don't want to come here, we don't want you, is how I would be looking at that. I mean, I feel like the Suns are kind of in talks for Jimmy Butler. I could see him going there. But once again, you have the same, like, so many of these teams have that star already. Like, you look at Booker, like, is a Booker and Jimmy going to be...
KD.
Yeah, it's like, are they going to be all on the same line?
Phoenix Suns, Bradley Beal would have to give up his no-trade clause in order to go down to Miami? I don't know.
I think it's messy no matter where he goes, but I think the positive is the Grizzlies don't have to worry about it anymore. You don't want to come here? Cool, we move on. We look at who else we want to try and trade and bring in to help us become a championship-winning team this year.
Yeah, I think it's either Dallas or Golden State, two similar situations to Memphis, but Memphis were definitely the best team right now that Jimmy had a chance to go to. I honestly think it comes down to the market, too, as well. Because if you do trade for Jimmy Butler and you give up Desmond Bane, despite Jaren having a great season so far, you're going to have to ask Jaren to slow it down a little bit, to not take so many shot attempts. Ja and Jimmy's egos clashing would be really interesting. I don't think either of them would defer to the latter. Who's going to take the last shot is what I kept coming back to, and both of them want to take the last shot, and so you're going to create issues there. With those two other spots, I think that he can have a more offensive role, even if Desmond Bane were to be traded for Jimmy Butler. I think that he still would have to take a back seat. So, yeah, maybe that's the reason why, is he looked at that and he said, oh, I could still end up being the third option, whereas in Golden State or in Dallas especially, he could be the second option on that team to Steph Curry or to Luka Doncic. So, yeah, but I think you also have to look at it. He's coming from Miami, and no offense to the city of Memphis, where I'm born and raised, there's a big difference between Miami and Memphis. There's a big difference between Memphis and Dallas and Memphis and San Francisco. And so for a guy like him, who is an entrepreneur, who runs a lot of businesses, it's easy for him to run them out of Miami that he has set up there. And I would think that he could likely move them to cities like San Francisco and Dallas. But to move them to Memphis, I don't think that that's something he wanted to do. I think if you asked Jimmy Butler, would you want to live in Memphis, he would probably say no, which would add fuel to the fire. I just think he's that kind of guy, And it's also, Jimmy's a great player. He's never won anything. Let's look at it like that, too. He's never won anything. He's really not gotten close. And I think that...
Got him to the finals, back-to-back years. I would say that's close.
But yeah,
most teams don't even sniff, or players don't even sniff the NBA finals. But they did, to your point, before you say it, they did get dragged in those NBA finals.
Yeah,
appearances.
no, it's a fair thing to say. Compared to what I said. Yeah, Jimmy's a great player. I love Jimmy Butler, but at this point in his career, he's not going out gracefully. Those years of him getting the Heat through the play-in game to the NBA Finals are over. That's pretty clear. Tyler Hero has taken over that team. That's his team now for the most part, him and Bam Adebayo. And I think that that's one of the big reasons why. You know, Jimmy says he doesn't have joy playing basketball anymore. Where are you going to go find that joy? And I know we're kind of going a little bit too into Jimmy Butler here, but at the same time, you know, that's what you said at the beginning. This is how the NBA looks now, and it's great that the NBA Players Association does a great job protecting their players. But it's a debate that people often have. Are we giving these players a little bit too much power? You look at someone like Ben Simmons, who decided to sit out in Philadelphia a few years ago, and he just racked up fines after fines after fines, slowly becoming the most fined player in NBA history. You know but he can pay it off. You know, so why isn't he going to sit out? So we kind of allow them to do this. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, he lost all credibility in Australia. Australians.
Ben Simmons.
We went down.
Can't even show his face in Australia.
Yeah, we were stoked on him, and then.
Yeah. My last point on the Jimmy Butler thing, and we can move on because, like we talked about, he's not coming here. But my last point on here is he's also burned bridges pretty much everywhere he's went. You're talking about Minnesota, you're talking about Philadelphia, even the situation in Miami kind of started out rosy, but is clearly ending very, very poorly. I think where the Grizzlies have been, you haven't had to deal with a whole lot of that, especially with your big stars, right? Dylan Brooks, okay, we can live with Dylan Brooks not being in Memphis anymore, but I don't think you want to potentially, if you're a team like the Grizzlies who can be championship contenders this year, at least if we think so, you want to introduce any kind of controversy. And if you get a guy like Jimmy in here, it might be rosy at first. You know, maybe you go on a win streak or whatever it is. And then, like we've talked about, do those egos start to mix here in a little bit? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll never know now because he's not coming.